James Harden got some folks turned up today, man. They are they interested or not. Someone on the text line, do you think he will accept being the third best player on the team? I think that's the question a lot of people have had about James Harden, especially as of late, of him not Houston James Harden. And once he kind of went to Brooklyn, he took the step back in Philadelphia. He's not the lead dog anymore. And so I don't know, FP Trey. I really don't know. I think that's to be determined, TBD.
He was the third best player, I think, in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I think
for sure, if not second in front of Maxey, it just depends.
Yeah, I think he's proven he can hang, but I still don't want him in Sacramento.
Yeah, I get it, man. I get it. Well, look, I'm not fighting for James Harden. I'm just throwing out some things that he may be able to add, be an addition here to the Sacramento Kings. With that being said, we'll welcome my boy Fox 40 Sean Cunningham to the show. Sean, look, man, I'm not politicking for James Harden to be in the Kings uni, brother. I'm just throwing some things out there. I understand that, King's Kingdom, all of a sudden we top notch and we turning up our noses to certain people. But I'm just saying, if you got James Harden for a bag of balls, maybe a couple of second round picks and a guy down at the back end of the bench, maybe a two-way guy, and you didn't have to pay him no money, hypothetically, would you accept James Harden in the Kings uni, brother?
Well, I mean, it's fun to talk about. I wouldn't say I'm a big James Harden hater by any stretch, but I would say I think the Kings are built a little different than having somebody like James Harden on the team. But I will say, like, what you're talking about, the scenario in which you laid out, second round picks, bag of balls, obviously not throwing a real centerpiece to Philadelphia to try to acquire a talent like that. And if we're just playing GM on the radio, I mean, isn't that why he's not wearing a Clippers jersey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, from that point, like, at least in LA, and I'm just going to put my hat on if I was a Clipper in the Clippers organization, I'm looking at James Harden and saying, yeah, he'd be a great addition without having to subtract any of these corner pieces. And you've obviously steered hard into the, Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, and they're never healthy at the same time. And they've obviously had setbacks, or we're not going to give them a clear bill of health where they can play every single game, or especially in Kawhi's case. And in my mind, they have no choice but to see it through. Like, they haven't had a year where we've got both of those dudes healthy at the same time, playing in what was the vision to acquire those guys way back when it was. So adding a guy like James Harden without subtracting one of those pieces makes more sense than it does looking at a Sacramento scenario where you're this up and coming team. You like what you have. You play a style of basketball that's attractive, and certainly defense is the areas you're looking to improve. But at the same time, if a guy like James Harden became available, look, I'm not saying you don't make the phone call. I think you should know what the value is of your team and what the value of players are on your roster and what it might take to acquire somebody like that. But long shot would be a little bit of an understatement.
Sean, you just alluded to it. The Kings are a growing team right now. It's the second year of the Beam team, of Mike Brown's Beam team, and they're building a culture here. When do you think the Kings are going to be ready to bring in a James Harden or bring in somebody that can contribute and not mess with the culture?
Well, with respect, I think those some of those stones and those building blocks were actually in place a little bit before Mike Brown. I think some of the strides that the front office had made, Monty McNair, Wes Wilcox, when they get in there, I sometimes don't think enough of the growth that they've shown organizationally gets counted for culture. Certainly Mike Brown has done a phenomenal job, and certainly last year was great, but trading for Domantas Sabonis was that swing for the fences, if you will, and that was that move in my mind. And I think to your point, FP, is like, I feel like you can try to find that next move to put with De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis. I'm confident they wake up every single day in efforts to do that. And maybe they view that pillar, if you will, in being Keegan Murray. And with his development, maybe it doesn't happen, right away like this season, but perhaps in the in the third season of his development is where you start to look at him as like a face of the franchise to be that three-headed monster. But certainly I'm with you, because there's in order for, the Kings to make real strides and hopefully build upon the success that they had last year in the win-loss column, is to go out and hopefully make one of those big moves. And I've, for the longest time, I'm one of those guys that kind of champion a big 3-and-D, a big wing player, a starting small forward that is kind of have a star or quasi all-star appeal. And maybe you get that in a guy who's coming off of a rookie contract and looking to make a next step. Those are some of the moves that they'll have to be aggressive with, and I think that those are moves that they've identified. But I think they'll try to do something like that this year, and they may not be successful in doing it, but that's part of the recipe for the years to come.
Joined by Fox 40 Shine, our guy Sean Cunningham, a Fox 40 Do It All reporter. Of course, he is one of the best when it comes to covering the Kings. Sean, I opening night, Golden One Center, home opening night, I should say, not opening night. It looks like they're going to play the Jazz to open up the season. But when I say October 27th, the Golden One Center, Friday night against the Warriors, you say what?
I say, if you thought that the playoffs were fun, this should be right in that realm. I mean, maybe not quite what the Game 7 atmosphere or even that first game might have looked like stepping into Golden One, just because you broke that streak. But you've got this nice little budding rivalry all of a sudden, and it might be a little one-sided based on the dynasty that exists in Golden State, but that dynasty looks like it might have a shelf life to it and might be kind of closer to the end than it is to the beginning at this point. So in Sacramento, you've got this upswing team, and the excitement should be absolutely equal to that. And I think by virtue of them being on national TV so many times this upcoming season, especially in those first few games, it's going to be really fun, man. I'm looking forward. I'm excited for Kings fans, because obviously we know the road that they've had to go down, and what were once darlings in the NBA, they obviously had a tough road before getting to that point. And then obviously we don't even have to talk about the drought that occurred after those glory years. So it's funny, we talk about glory years and it doesn't even equal a championship. So this will be a lot of fun. And I think it's kind of last year was kind of the building of something, and a lot of people kind of taking notice and jumping on board. And it's going to be fun to see what ratings look like, because they're going to be on the national TV so often. But when you just talk about the Kings and Warriors, I think the Kings are going to likely treat the Warriors a lot like they treated the Lakers. I think they're not as easy to hate as the Lakers were back in that glory run of the early 2000s, but certainly it's a interstate rivalry, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Sean, I'm going to have to disagree with you, because I think you can hate Draymond Green pretty easily, and they got this guy named CP3 that a lot of people don't really like. But you're so professional, Sean, because I came on air today so giddy, telling Kings fans, listen, you got to train for this game because it's that big of a deal. I don't even care about the Utah Jazz opener. Cool, that's great. It's all about the home opener. You got to get your uniform ready. You got to get everything ready. You got to drink raw eggs. I want to see the montage out there. So I got what you were saying. You're a lot more professional than I am. I have another question for you, though. What are some storylines Kings fans should be?
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
Can I jump in real quick just off that point? Because I know your dad real well, and you guys are up in the El Dorado Hills area, so I know you know this market just as well as you do the Bay. Kings fans don't need any poking or prodding or encouragement to hate another team. And that's what I think is just like yes, the Chris Paul factor adds to that. I mean, certainly they're kind of the oh golly gee shucks of great teams, and Draymond Green for sure. I mean, he's going to get a lot of the wrath based on what happened with him and Sabonis in that series, and even Kevon Looney, who's so mild-mannered. But the one thing, look, Kings fans don't need a reason to hate anything. They will hate just fine. I mean, I think they're a Hall of Fame team fan base when it comes to really finding that moment to be able to just pick apart and absolutely hate on the other team. But go ahead. I apologize.
No, that's great. So you're saying we're a bunch of haters, which is, no, that's fantastic.
Bitter there. Yeah.
That's so great, Sean. I just want to ask you, what are some storylines Kings fans should be keyed in on heading into the preseason here?
Yeah, I think for me, I think fans will probably echo this as well, but I think that it kind of starts a little bit with two players, really. And One is Sasha Vezenkov, because there's so much of a curiosity around him, and I think he's going to be under a microscope because there's going to be a curiosity of whether or not his game will translate to the NBA and the style of play that the Kings play. And I think early on, people are going to really kind of gravitate to what he is and what he's about. But then right there with it, I think, is Keegan Murray, and some of the strides he made in his rookie season. You never want to see a guy take a step back, and there's always going to be expectation for a guy to take a major leap forward. I think personally, and maybe this is my own tempered enthusiasm and optimism, is he doesn't have to take that big of a step. I mean, in certain things, you can critique taking a guy off a dribble and having an ISO game to him, and being that type of player at that type of where he plays it positionally. But to me, I don't think he really has to take too much of a step forward for him to really add to his development and growth. I think honestly he can kind of replicate what he did in his rookie season, and that to me would be very, very positive. Now, honestly, if he takes leaps and bounds, that would be fantastic, and that's to me you're kind of playing with that house money, so to speak. I know some people don't like that term, but to me, he's so ahead of his development and where he is that is such a good thing. And Kings fans, I think he's kind of a fan favorite at this point. And then I think if there's a third, and this is just a little bit of an ancillary one, because I don't know how much to buy into the struggles that Kevin Huerter showed at the latter part of last season, but if he can start off the season with just a real big confidence and having some of that efficiency back from his 3-point shot from the perimeter, I think will go a long, long way.
Sean, always appreciate it, brother. As I said, one of the best, my man. Appreciate you. Fox 40 Sean Cunningham.
Sorry, too kind, guys. Thank you. Anytime.
Absolutely, man. Appreciate it, Sean. There is a different buzz in Sacramento. And as I was sitting there just listening to Sean, someone who's covered this team for a long time, you can just hear it in his voice a little bit.
Couldn't you?
Yeah.
And that's why I was saying he was so professional, because he kept on alluding to the fun. Like, this matchup's going to be fun, which somebody that's been doing that a long time means this is going to be legit, guys.
Yeah.
I'm still too green to this. I'm 28 years old. I've been in the business for 5 years.
All right.
So I'm going to let it fly on the air. I'm going to let you know how I feel, and I'm fired up. But guys, if you're just listening at home or in the car or whatever, when somebody mentions, it's going to be fun, and they've been in the business that long, like key in on that stuff, because that means this is going to be a legit matchup, playoff atmosphere, everything.
Yeah.
Let's hype it up. Why not?
It is very true, man. As you hear FB Trey, I'm Double J Johnson, Sac Sports 1140. We have to, on the opposite side, as Simone has graced us with her physical being here in Sac Sports 1140 studios. She had a trek over the past weekend to go see the Queen Bee. That would be Beyonce. We catch up with Simone next.
The first ever NBA in-season tournament schedule is out, and our Kings have some great matchups, including national TV games against the Spurs and Warriors.